remind you that if you want to enjoy the experience of Big Market, you must put on the equipment available to you. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody! Welcome! Please gather round, gather round. Now, my name is Tazit, and I am your guide for today, okay? Now, whose first time is this at Big Market? Okay, lovely, lovely. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, let me remind you that Big Market is in another dimension. You won't be able to see it without your helmet or touch it without your gloves. But there are nearly 1 million stores in Big Market, yes, okay? We have 1 hour. Now, please watch the letters at the top and verify that the U for human is full green, okay? So everybody, please get together right behind your guide, whose name is... Tazzy! Come on, let's go! Okay, follow me, please, put your helmets on. Go through the gate. Okay, activate your system. Wonderful. Okay. Do not leave with your helmet.
System activated.
Activate your system, please. Welcome to Big Market.
Just think, baby, 1 million stores.
Only stuff that we can carry, okay?
I promise.
All right.
Major Valerian. Sergeant Cooper. As you read in the memo, you need glasses to see the other dimension and a transmatter box to bring anything there. Especially a gun.
Authorized.
Put this on. Enter your genetic code on the front keypad. To come back, enter your genetic code on the back keypad. Clear?
Crystal.
Good luck.
Thanks.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through
Of course, without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
Look, we've been trapped in here for about 3 days, all right? They want some kind of explanation. I think we gotta figure out what we want to tell them.
Killer jellyfish, squid, sea snakes, and an alien being in the form of a giant totemic golden ball? Please.
Look, we destroyed $100 million worth of equipment down there, and people died. Now they want some answers. I want to know what you guys want to tell them.
Harry, why aren't we dead?
What?
Remember what you said? The future can't be changed.
It can't?
Yeah, but in the spaceship they called it an unknown entry event. Unknown. Like we never got here alive to tell them about it. You said we wouldn't survive, remember? If you can't change the future, then we should be dead. We're alive, we're not dead.
Yeah, and in about 2 minutes we're going to be in a room full of military guys, all right? Now they know about the sphere. We know Barnes got a hold of them before we lost contact to the surface. So what do you want to tell them?
Why bother? The sphere's destroyed.
But we still have the power, am I right? Look, I don't know if I trust them with it, all right? And frankly, I don't know if I trust either one of you guys. But I'll tell you this much, I don't want to not be able to sleep, afraid I'm going to wake up with having manifested some nightmare and there's all kinds of weird things in my apartment.
That's a frightening thought.
Yeah, no kidding. So, if we still have the power, what do you want to do with it? Because God knows what they'll do with it.
Are you saying you're worried about what will happen if it falls into the wrong hands?
Yeah. And frankly, I don't know what the wrong hands are. What's worse, the wrong hands or our hands?
We are the wrong hands. Okay? We proved it. Like, you know, the three of us are three enlightened people. We're intelligent. We even recycle our cans and our bottles. But when we got our shot, we manifested every mean, distorting, vengeful, paranoid thought you could think of. We did. Right?
So you believe we still have the power?
Of course we still have it. And that's the answer to the equation. We can't change the future. We're not dead, but they don't know. Why?
I'm not following you.
Because we have the power to forget.
To forget?
You want us to agree to forget?
Wait a minute. Are we sure that we want to do this?
Yes.
I mean, this is the greatest discovery in the history of mankind, and now we're just going to white it out like it's some kind of typing error.
No, I'm sure.
What about you, Beth?
What's the matter, Norman?
It's a little hard to let go, you know?
Yes.
Something that could have been. This gift. The power to make your dreams come true. We're given the greatest gift in the history of mankind. We're given this magic ball, and it says, imagine what you will, and you can have it. That's an extraordinary gift, but we're so primitive. We manifested the worst in us because what we have inside us is what we have inside of us, instead of the best of us. What does that say about us?
We weren't ready, Norman. We have what's called an imagination.
I mean, look what we're capable of. We can
Are you keen on video games, Clarence?
I used to play when I was a kid. Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Jet Set Willie on ZX Spectrum, Strip Poker on Commodore 60.
How would you say this game stacks up?
Well, listening to Chung and Rooney go on about it sounds like a load of bloody homework. Measurements, equations, charts, observations. All about the way the suns move around a fictional planet.
Suns? Plural?
Yeah. Oh, there's also a little kid they've got to try and save. Or Chong's trying to save and failing over and over. That's the only bit that sounds like a proper game to me.
What's engineering got to say about this?
No, look, getting it to work, but they did identify some very interesting components. It's got a retinal scanner, an oxygen meter, and a brainwave sensor. It's collecting a heap of biometric data.
So while you're playing the game, someone at the other end is playing you. It's a recruitment tool. They're going after our best and brightest.
Yeah, but recruitment for what?
Oh, fuck. Hi.
Hey,
I thought you were out with your mates.
it's 3 a.m.
Sorry, babe, I was playing the game with Jack.
Yeah, I know. He logged off.
Well, it's a mess, I know. I was gonna tidy up before you got here.
You lose your tether when you're not working.
There's nothing to be done at work, so I'm just taking my holiday leave.
This isn't a holiday. Should I postpone dinner?
What? No. Why?
You've been dreading meeting my parents for weeks.
I haven't been dreading it. No, I can't wait.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're gonna love you. Just be yourself, yeah?
Mm.
But maybe go easy on the science talk.
Higher dimensions exist, but we can't perceive them because we're three-dimensional creatures. For instance, seen from a distance, this grid is just a flat circle, right? But when you go closer, you see that it has thickness, an extra dimension. Amazing, right? And what's hidden inside that extra dimension? More flat circles, and many more. Layers within layers within layers. A whole universe inside every bite. Well, that's all, theoretical. So theoretically, I've just eaten an entire universe. And it's delicious, Mrs. Farmer.
Commander Varma tells me you understand extra dimensions, higher dimensions.
When did you talk to Raj?
I talk to him all the time. I talk to all my employees all the time.
Okay, he's in the Royal Navy, buddy. Unless you're the King of England, he's not your employee.
He never mentioned that he works for me. Good.
Why should I believe you?
Higher dimensions. I believe you discussed the subject with Commander Varma before.
He told you about that?
Higher dimensions. You understand that kind of thing?
Nobody really understands that kind of thing. Our brains evolved in 3 dimensions, not 10. To the extent we are capable of understanding them, yes, I do.
The result of your boyfriend's last mission leads us to believe we may be in need of this kind of understanding.
Well, I don't know anything about his last mission. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. Where was he?
You're very pushy.
I'm pushy.
And repetitive. Maybe you shouldn't be working for me after all.
I don't work for you.
Okay, you're the boss.
Why do you want to know about higher dimensions?
Does the word cell phone mean anything to you, boss? They want to show us something.
What?
Dunno. No one has seen this yet. Anybody seen this yet?
No, sir.
Is it another level of the game?
Could be. What do we do now?
You prepare yourself for something very strange.
I've heard that.
No, I mean very strange.
I'm sure I'll manage. I meant, how do we get it started?
Put it on.
That's it.
You said they want to show us something? If they want it to work, it'll work for us.
All right, then. Jesus, fuck.
Yep.
How do they know what we're wearing?
I don't know.
Who's she?
An AI. Or maybe one of them.
They look like us?
We don't look anything like this. This is all for your benefit.
What do you really look like?
You wouldn't like it.
I need to know what's happening.
This planet is dying. The human race is killing it.
So you've come here to help us?
No.
You could stop this, couldn't you? If you wanted to.
I tried to reason with you. I tried to speak with your leaders.
Those aren't our leaders. You want to speak to one of our leaders, I'll take you to one. It's a Nobel Prize. He won it for his work in biological altruism. Probably still be in his desk drawer if I hadn't gotten it framed for him. You tired?
Just a little.
Close. But no.
I wouldn't.
He won't mind.
Is it possible?
I have so many questions to ask you.
It's Bob.
It's beautiful.
So we're not so different after all.
I wish that were true.
But there must be alternatives. You must have some technology that could solve our problem.
Your problem is not technology. The problem is you. You lack the will to change.
Then help us change.
I cannot change your nature. You treat the world as you treat each other.
But every civilization reaches a crisis point eventually.
Most of them don't make it.
Yours did? How?
Our sun was dying. We had to evolve in order to survive.
So it was only when your world was threatened with destruction that you became what you are now?
Yes.
Well, that's where we are. You say we're on the brink of destruction, and you're right. But it's only on the brink that people find the will to change. Only at the precipice do we evolve. This is our moment. Don't take it from us. We are close to an answer.
Hey, you epic being. Welcome. Andre Hodge, Infinite Potential Healing, 7 of Truth with you once more. Thank you as always for allowing me to be a part of your journey during this pretty epic, amazing times. I always say that, but it seems to be ever increasing, alright? So I hope you're doing well. And if you've been investing in my recent offerings, particularly Influences Part 8, which I offered last week, I hope you got a lot from that, as well as getting into this whole theme of what is going on. And I feel like what I've attempted to do is offer you these very dense sort of data packets for your own awareness supercomputer that, as I've offered in past releases and stuff going back a fair way, I've offered about how the consciousness absorbs data, but our body actually retains it all as well. And so what you do is you acquire as much data as you can. It doesn't matter if you're consciously aware of it or not, but if you've got it as a resource in you, then you can call upon it. And it's not so much you need to know everything. If you have the ability to ask a question, then you, ideally, if this all works, then you get the result and the answer and the conscious awareness sort of appreciation of everything. But a big part of that from my perspective is gaining the data to have a foundation to launch from, and your awareness and stuff like that. So to me, I feel what the truth actually is, you know, it's very subjective to most people, but if you operate from an idealist, altruistic perspective, ideally we should be able to have a consensus of what the truth is, but it isn't the case, right? So that's where you have to be a leader in your own awareness journey and take ownership of this and appreciate it all. And you might go out into the unknown compared to most, but what I hope I've instilled in you as an individual is that you can actually do that, and you might be the awareness variable that maybe you have a perception and an appreciation of things that hasn't been appreciated before. And we each have to potentially go into original territories of things and be courageous in accepting the what is that hasn't been talked about and stuff like that. So I don't want to get into a big monologue at the start. I do love getting into my zone and all that sort of stuff. It's quite late in my day and stuff. And what I want to do basically in this release is offer a very, very potent 6-minute clip. And I hope I don't get banned on YouTube and stuff for it. The creator of this has let me know that in the past and stuff, but I want to offer this video based around this very, very pivotal clip. And this video will explain part of my journey relative to the dimensional mechanics of our reality and some variables of the timings of when I got these and my very thorough journey to get to this point, to be able to offer these things and feel very comfortable about doing it and going into my own original territory of, say, what I've offered in the Sovereignty Declaration version 5, which is basically, I feel it's a very condensed data download for you to acquire and integrate into yourself and just see how much BS you can see with it, alright? But what I want to do is offer a teacher that I've known about for many years, and his name is Bruce Cathie, and he passed away. I don't remember right now. I didn't do my homework quite on it. I just really didn't want this to be a really big, expanding video. I want it to be more of a reference point of this particular concept that he offers, right? So this is going to be Multidimensional Method to the 3D Madness Part 14. I haven't released a variable on this theme for a very long time, but it's definitely been it's definitely been a component of everything I offer, and it's more an invitation to appreciate things on a vast level than you may even allow yourself to, right? And it's going to be reality dimensional mechanics. So it's going to be multidimensional method to the 3D madness, reality dimensional mechanics. But basically it's a continuation of that theme that's always been a parallel in everything I've offered, right? So the reason why I want to offer this Bruce Cathie clip, and I'm going to show you an image of a bit of my timeline of many years and stuff, and the reason why I do this is to invite you to have your own overlay of your own journey of all these variables and stuff of what you've acquired over these years and whatever length of time you've been in on this path. But the way I offer it is, and the reason why I offer these overlays of, say, my journey with all these different variables in parallel, it's an invite for you to appreciate how thorough I've been and how generous I've been in allowing, say, perception authorities to come across and to come through and offer their perspectives. And I've heavily invested in their concepts of what they've offered. But then I've also come out the other end of realizing what is the truth and what is BS and all that sort of stuff. And that's where I've been basically this variable of just trying to invite you to consider differently and realizing that, you know, maybe you've always had the instincts and the talents all along that have just not been nurtured or encouraged or appreciated or recognized by anyone else, to go from an inactive mode to an active mode and stuff like that, which I talk about as a mechanics that go on in all of us. You know, this multidimensional awareness is not encouraged in this reality, and I feel it's very deliberately done because we are superior. But how do we get to that superiority sort of thing, right? It comes by self-acceptance and being thorough and, like I say, being altruistic. And to me, like what I've said about my personal pursuit in the spiritual path is seeking the epitome of society and trying to be the best I can, right? It's not about, you know, being aligned to things and all that sort of stuff. It's about being the best being that I can possibly be. And I know a lot of you wouldn't be here unless that's been the pursuit of your journey as well. How do I become a better person and all that sort of stuff? And what I've tried to offer is, it's not about playing the victim, but it's recognizing all the variables that do not want that, all right? And it's been massive and epic. And if you go through my Sovereignty Declaration version 5, how extensive it is, you see how much is going on. And ideally that will be a enigma decryption code to you realizing all the stuff that you've been up against and never realizing it, right? So this multidimensional method to the 3D Madness Part 14 is meant to be a big reference point along all that journey, and say my shift over all that time and stuff, and realizing, holy frack, we're in the deep end of whatever it is, all right? And it's not about playing the victim or anything. It's about, like I've invited, if we were inferior, this stuff wouldn't be needed. So what is our superiority then that we need to engage? And that's all of my mechanics that I've offered, right? So what I want to do is just show you this image parallels of, say, my journey and all the people I've interacted with and all the concepts I've taken on board, but how pivotal this Bruce Cathie video was, all right, when I came across it. It was released in 2000, or the recordings were done in 2007, right? And I came across it in September 2011. And I had to go back to old hard disks and find the actual original video that I watched, and you can go into the properties of the files that you watch and download and stuff. And you can look at the timestamps of when you saved it and all that sort of stuff. So it was about September 2011, right? So I just want to offer those two reference points, when it was offered and when I saw it, right? And he talks about 35 years prior to that. So he talks about an experience he had. To me, it was the late 60s, right? If you go and buy the video, and I highly recommend you go and invest in the content of the creator, like I'm sharing a clip here, and I want to promote it, right? That's why I want to do it, because it's such a, you know, when it was released, it was like, oh yeah, it's out there, and that. Now I've got all this context to say me doing all the missions and going through this like couple hundred missions of working out, you know, the Asher stuff of 12D and then going to 15D and all that sort of stuff, and going well beyond it now. If you've explored my sovereignty declarations, I've been very measured over all this time, if you get me, and we have to go through an experience to work out what is going on, and then the consequence of that, and then evolve and stuff. So it's been a very measured sort of journey, if that makes sense. So I'm inviting you to appreciate that and how thorough I've been to able to get to this point, to be able to confirm all these things, right? So this video, like I said, I watched in 2011. If you remember me, and I've said, like, I met people 2013 and went through 7 years of all sorts of stuff, and then we had the Chaos 19 stuff, and now we've got the AI stuff going on. And why I include this in the multidimensional method to 3D madness, right? Because he, back then, was talking about the 15D, that the dart, like the, you know, the behind the scenes of the real apparatus of this system, how structured and how masterful it is and how organized it is, and his particular invitation to go into that side and all that sort of stuff. So that the Harmonic Code documentary is a very, very precious sort of offering just before he died, right? I think he died 2012 or something like that. I don't remember, but he didn't live too much longer after this. He'd been in the trenches for 50, 60 years, and he was an amazing, honourable being, and I want to make sure that he's remembered, right? But also all that he's offered and stuff like that. So what I want to do, I'm just going to show the image that I said I was going to show, right? So this is one of those, say, myself on my journey and stuff like that, with parallels of all sorts of stuff, right? Because now I've sort of come this full multi-dimensional circle to be where I'm at, to be able to offer the mechanics that I offer. I want to invite you to appreciate this as a very potent reference point of data that I've always carried with me and I've held as a variable, and I've been looking for confirmations of it, if that makes sense. And I haven't really found it until just recently, you know, going through all the post-Asher 12D and all that sort of stuff, right? So this is like a timeline. Below is like all the decades. And then there's me, different eras, coming across the Bruce teachings, and then Bruce himself when he's offered it, right? So me down the bottom, like my awakening 2008, I draw a thing around 2011 when I came across this video. I've got the 2013 sort of era, the 2020, and we've gone on from then, right? This red sort of dots are like pivotal beings that I've discovered, interacted with, invested a lot in, and come out the other side of, right? There's some dates and all that sort of stuff, and I would just invite, there's had a lot of consequence on me, and it's things like consequence of bankruptcy and all the other eras and stuff, and I would just say this about me, like I've been looking for this stuff, and I've been very generous in investing in a lot of people, as in being humble like the dust, like who am I to know all this stuff, and there's a lot of people out there who present themselves as very aware, but I've never gotten this information that I've offered in the Sovereignty Declaration from any of them, right, to come out the other side. And not only that, it's the metaphor of like being a hen in the fox house sort of thing, right? So I don't want to get into all that too much, but I'm just offering this Bruce Cathie variable when I discovered it, and I went through all this journey with trying to find people that would at least confirm this stuff, let alone offer information that would, you know, very rewarding and rich, and it has been that, but the experience I've got is a lot of the data of all the influences, if that makes sense, let alone getting messed up by them and working out the mechanics, how to overcome them and all that sort of stuff, right? So getting into the orange, right, and that's when Bruce Cathie did the video in 2007, and so me coming across this in 2011, right? So it's like parallels of time. But then the blue line is, say, this 15D plus mechanics of the reality system, right? So he discovered it, like being potentially invited into the Black Project sort of stuff, right? In late 60s, mid to late 60s. You have to go and watch the whole video, right? So I highly recommend a bit of an investment in that to support the creator and all that. But the reason why I'm showing you this and how masterful this system was since the late 60s of mastering the like 15D and all that sort of stuff. So if we appreciate how society accepts the 3D 5 sense reality and stuff, well, it's been over 50 years that they've had this mastered. So if you listen to the dates and you track back and stuff, and he talks about a lot from the 50s and 60s and all that sort of stuff, right? But the key thing is the system has had this mastered since the 60s, 15D. So when I'm inviting like the multidimensional internet apparatus and all the influences and all that sort of stuff, and the spiritual no man's land, you know, I don't want to sound negative towards entheogens and all that sort of stuff, but to me, a lot of this stuff has been promoted after they've had the reality mastered, if that makes sense, all right? And people go into multi-dimensional experiences, but what level of dimension are they and all that sort of stuff? And I don't really want to get into that, but say from myself, what I'm saying is 2011 I listened to Bruce and I had the data appreciation of the 15D that the reality creators and masters had, all right? So I went in seeking all these teachers, and particularly, say, Andrew Bartz's. He would say the negative beings are 7th, 8th and 9th dimensional beings. He never talked anything above that, all right? So that whole 7 years and all that, I've talked about, say, my urgency of sensing something was coming on, and going into the Project Camelot stuff after 2008. A lot of the people that they were interviewing back then between 2008 and 2012 and stuff like that, a lot of interesting people were talking about what was going to come, but it sounds like prophecy, and it's hard to appreciate when it hasn't unfolded and stuff, right? And the appreciation of all this stuff is so beyond what anyone else has said. There's no reference for it. So how are you meant to process it? So a lot of us have been in the trenches for a long time. We've actually had a lot of the data, but it's like, how do we actually employ it? Because we've got no reference of it. And so a lot of us have sought out these teachers that present themselves as highly aware, but they've never really, that's where I talk about giving a perception authority way to these beings, and they've set us up for failure, all right? It cannot be dismissed that they've been a part of the system, all right, because it's been so coordinated and so extensive. And that's where me discovering Asha in 2021 was so profound, all right? Because at least she went against all this stuff and gave us a reference. And I've been critical on her, but it's all cool. Like, it's at least that she's offered a, you know, a contrarian view that we can actually process all this, and that's where I've built a lot from. So the top line is like all the, you know, discovering sort of things in 2013. Like the top line is discovering that 15 reference. The red line is 2013, interacting with someone. And then they're coming out the other side of that, and then going through the couple hundred GSF missions that happened since 2023, like working out what was being done to me, the code stealing and all that, the Kundalini and life force harvesting and all that, to get it all back and be vigilant on that. Go through this very methodical process of helping people out, but working out what's going on with them, and then trickling all that back through the sovereignty declaration to help people maintain their sovereignty from it all to get to this point. So that's a pretty broad overview, and maybe it's not enough detail that you need, and I don't really want to get into too much detail. But what I want to do is just offer this Bruce Cathie video now, and it's about 6 or 7 minutes, and it's very profound because he talks all about the dates, the secrecy sort of stuff, and how masterful society was back then, let alone how it is now, right? And all the dimensional levels and all that sort of stuff, right? Because he talks about pure maths as well, and if you go into his teachings and stuff, if you've been through the Richard Allen Miller interview that I released late last year, I think now, or earlier this year, I asked Richard Allen Miller a question about how mathematics was wrong in universities, and he dismissed me, right? And when you hear this is the data that I was able to ask Richard Allen Miller that question, all right? So I'm going to leave it with you now, and I'll see you on the other side, all right? So enjoy.
Hello, my name is Bruce Cathie, and I'd like to introduce you to an exciting new documentary based on my life and research into UFOs and the harmonics of reality. The time has come for you to learn the truth. My early education was at Otahu Technical College in Auckland, and when I left there I had my matriculation. In those days it was the top examination to go to the university. But I never went to university, and I'm very pleased that I didn't do that, because knowing what I do know now, I would never have found anything. I had contact with an agent, CIA agent actually, and I asked him, I said, well, why isn't this material mathematics and everything I was finding at that time taught in universities? And he just smiled at me quietly and said, it is, but it's only taught to selected students. They actually pick out the brilliant students. They sign the Secrecy Act, and then they're fed into the system. Way back in the early days there, I was actually taken into a research department, and I was locked up there for 4 hours with 2 top mathematicians, security people, and the head of department. And I didn't know anywhere near what I know now, but they had they'd been watching me. I didn't know at this stage, but they must have thought, well, I've got to a certain stage now, maybe they better start talking to me and sort of bringing me into the system. So they questioned me for that 4 hours, and the mathematician was putting what I was saying into pure mathematics, which I couldn't understand on the blackboard. It was only a small room, like it was an instant hut type of thing. We were all locked up in a little group there. And anyway, at the end of the session, they said, oh yes, we'll help you, Bruce, and go along. In other words, well, let's join together. And the security man that took me in there, when I left, actually just before I left, I must mention, I asked one of these mathematicians, I said, or is there such a thing as a fourth dimension? Because in the equations and playing around with them, I thought, well, okay, I wonder if there's some other dimensions, and maybe the fourth. And he just grinned at me and he said, we work here in 15. Now that was over 35 years ago, not far from where we are. So I'd been finding out a lot that the public are not aware of. And anyway, when we left, I told the security man that I wouldn't join them because I wanted to remain free. I wasn't going to sign a Secrecy Act. I wanted to be a free citizen. I wanted to be free to do my work. And that's how I've reacted to this right to this day. I've been offered other things I'll tell you as we go along, but anyway, I progressed with my work, and I found that I could start looking at other things around the world and using these basic mathematics, and I started calling it harmonic mathematics, because another thing that I'd discovered was that there was a different type of mathematics. It's outside classical mathematics, and I sort of latched onto this. And I found that when I used 1 minute of arc on the Earth's surface, I could then do all these calculations in a harmonic sense. And I was decried by the academics, and they said, oh, you can't use circular measure for distance and everything like that. And I just grinned, I said, well, we use it every day as pilots. A minute of arc is a nautical mile, so we use it all the time. But anyway, I found that if I took that nautical mile and broke it into 6,000 geodetic inches, or 6,000 geodetic feet I should say, then took the 12 inches, well, I could manipulate the whole of these harmonics in those units. And I found I wasn't getting perfect answers, and I wonder if there was any time difference. And I finally found that if I used a time base of 27 segments in one revolution of the Earth instead of 24, everything was perfect, and I was getting perfect answers all the time. So I then had all my work in grid geodetic measure and grid time, and from there on my work progressed fairly quickly. I checked ancient places around the world like the pyramids and Stonehenge, and I found that they were sitting on these geometric points, and I could analyse these ancient places in these values and get answers from them. In other words, when those things were built thousands and thousands of years ago, those people knew this secret mathematics, harmonic mathematics. And To this day, even though I've been behind the scenes, I've been offered various things. Nobody will admit this mathematics exists. There's massive amounts of research going on behind the scenes, all tied up with UFOs and space travel, and they've known. I haven't found anything myself that's new. I've been finding what they know, and I'm still carrying on. I've been at this for 40 years now, and I'm still finding, and I'm being surprised when I've checked things different places around the world, and which are well known. Everybody knows what they are. They've been there. You've walked through them yourself sometimes, but you don't know what it is. And they're there, and they've been there for years, hundreds of years in those places.
Welcome back. I hope this video is public still, and I haven't been banned or blacklisted because I've put this clip out. But I just really want to invite that Bruce Cathie, the Harmonic Code documentary, is very, very rich and potent, and he talks about how time is incorrect. So if you think like 24 hours clock, right? If you think 27 is 3 times 3 times 3, whereas 24 hours is a bit of a distorted time. There isn't rhythm and all that sort of stuff. And it's really interesting because I might share a clip at the start or now that was in the awesome TV series Person of Interest, where the epic machine creator, it's all about AIs battling at the end, right? And season 4 in particular is very fascinating because of how the negative AI gets in control and it starts influencing kids and all that sort of stuff. So there's this episode where they play very high level games and lure kids in and stuff like that. And it feels very much like the Nolan brothers, like Jonathan Nolan. Christopher Nolan makes all the cool movies. Jonathan Nolan makes like Westworld and Person of Interest and other series that are very prophetic, right? It's really interesting. But it's like the battling of AIs, it's talking about what's going on now sort of thing and the influences going on. But there's a particular episode where the main character talks about pi, and it's being this particular number, but I've seen videos where people are talking pi should be 3.33, not 3.142, never ending. So I might show that clip now.
My name is Mr. Swift. I'm your substitute teacher. Ms. Bentham received a last-minute opportunity to attend an all-expenses-paid teaching seminar in Maui. I see in Ms. Bentham's lesson plan that today we're doing addition. That can't be right.
It's busy work, punishment. We're supposed to add all the numbers from 1 to 100.
Math is not punishment. You know, in the late 18th century, there was a math prodigy named Carl Friedrich Gauss, who was faced with the same tedious problem that you are. He figured a way around it. 1 to 100. Who'd like to take a crack at working out Gauss's equation? Anybody? Mr. Phipps?
I gotta be honest, Mr. Swifty, you lost me at Friedrich, so...
I'll give you a hint.
Fosco.
Good morning, Detective. I trust that you received my email.
And the entire roll call for Brooklyn Science.
I need you to tell me everything you can about Caleb Phipps.
Couple run-ins with the NYPD. Typical kid stuff. Nothing exceptional.
I'll say 2.6 GPA and test scores that sit squarely in the mid-range. He spent my whole class doodling in his notebook.
Hey, you still there?
Please continue.
Caleb, a word? I couldn't help but notice this.
No offense, Mr. Swift, but now you're going through the garbage?
Pi. Can any of you tell me what it means? I'll settle for an intelligent question here. Yeah.
My friend has a question, Mr. Swift. What is any of this good for, and when would we ever use it?
Let me show you. Pi, the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. And this is just the beginning. It keeps on going forever without ever repeating, which means that contained within this string of decimals is every single other number. Your birth date, combination to your locker, your social security number, it's all in there somewhere. And if you convert these decimals into letters, you would have every word that ever existed in every possible combination. The first syllable you spoke as a baby, the name of your latest crush, your entire life story from beginning to end, everything we ever say or do, all of the world's infinite possibilities rest within this one simple circle. Now, what you do with that information, what it's good for, well, that would be up to you.
Welcome back. Interesting clip, hey. It's an awesome show. I highly recommend going out and watching. But just getting back to this Bruce Cathie clip that I shared, and I don't want this to be too long. I hope you appreciate this. So I invite you to do a parallel timeline sort of thing of yourself like this, just to see when you interact with all this stuff. I would suggest it's probably highly unlikely you've never even seen Bruce Cathie, let alone watch this documentary. So you wouldn't have that reference that I have. And that's where I always say thoroughness is an ally. Being relentless and acquiring data and all that sort of stuff. And Bruce Cathie was one of the people that I came across pretty early and had on my list with Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, David Icke, and all Michael DeZone and all that sort of stuff. So I went out hunting his stuff, right? So just see how pivotal that variable is in how you feel about all the dimensional mechanics and all that sort of stuff, right? And then say you might have had interactions with all the people that I've sort of dealt with and all that sort of stuff, and ideally that experience has been very rich for you, whether it's been a positive or negative experience. Ideally you're here now very much more armed up with awareness and data and all that. So when I offer 15D plus mechanics, all right, then going through the Asher stuff was very pivotal to give me a confirmational variable relative to this Bruce Lipton clip, this Bruce Cathie clip, right? So I'm just going to move on because it's getting dark and I don't have much time, all right? So this is the awareness journey with the dark and light sort of interaction that we worked out and busting divide light, right? Stealing our codes and stuff like that. So the spiritual no man's land, it's, in my opinion, it's a battleground that most people don't even know about, right? But I would just remember late 60s, they had all this mastered from the system perspective, right? And therefore, once they got all that mastered, then they could roll out all the Internet of Bodies sort of stuff, right? Which has taken 50 years to develop and all that sort of stuff, right? So this is what it's been like, and we've never known. And in my opinion, a lot of the people out there actually, whether they know it or not, if you go and watch Person of Interest, in season 3, I think, there was this vigilante group, they might even be called vigilante or whatever, they thought they were going against the system, and what they actually were a part of the negative AI that created them, that was seeding all the data to be the controlled opposition sort of shit, right? So to me, like, the vulnerability we have if we don't accept this dimensional mechanics, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, the system is governed by it, and that's how it locks everything and everyone down and influences everyone, alright? So this video is an invitation to really just accept this is going on, and you've just got a gap, and that's where I talk about when I discovered there was more based on like past life regression. I went full bore into this, and I was very IT logic based, and the logic was there is more going on, and how do we get an appreciation of all this sort of stuff, right? That's where it's taken me so long, right? And I've interacted with all these people, but I've come out the other end to give you all this data and give you a very condensed awareness download sort of thing that ideally you don't need to go through all this, and you have the data in you to know, no, I'm not going down that path. You've got the context. You know that path is bad sort of thing, right? And help accelerate your awareness journey ASAP to get on top of your game to reality, to master the reality and stuff, right? But I think humanity is very much set up for failure, and we've got a long way to go. And you being courageous and accepting this are very precious, and you don't understand how important you are right now. Just to be a beachhead of this awareness, let alone what you accept, right? So I'm just going to move on. In Amplify the Echoes part 15 and 16, particularly part 16, what I offered was relative to the multidimensional mass incarnate beings that can incarnate aspects of themselves at different times, right? Because time is not very high dimensional level of operation. If you go high level, then you can be a mass incarnate that has incarnate variables throughout time sort of thing. So those two videos were an invitation to appreciate how much we're being influenced to grind us down to being this 3D 5 cent sort of variable, right? Because we're not accepting that this level of mechanics is going on, we're vulnerable to it. And in my opinion, the system has inserted itself in between us and our potential to lock us down and wiping us and all that sort of stuff and grinding us down and all that, right? So I recommend going through those two videos. I'll just show another image that I offered in that part 16, right? But there's a lot more context in those videos, right? So I'm just going to move on. So what I said in part 16 of Amplify the Echoes is they were corrupting our DNA to be corrupted, so we actually link into the invader overlay sort of thing rather than going into pure source, right? So that's all being seeded through all the DNA lineages that we in these bodies have an opportunity to be responsible for and clear out, right? To actually align to pure source. So I just wanted to share this pretty quickly before I get into the last couple of images. It's getting dark and I need to finish off, right? So relative to the awareness journey, what I did is try to simplify this and offer what I call the spiritual no man's land. And that's why I limit it to 15D, right? Maybe in the future I need to evolve it and all that sort of stuff. But if you appreciate all these that I've offered and the awareness journey, right, and I might go back to that in a little bit, I just want to show you another image relative to this, all right? But that's why I have 15D as a reference point, because going back to that Bruce Cathie clip that he worked out in the 1960s, late 60s, 70s, right? And going through the Asher stuff, they're the two variables, and then going into the field doing hundreds of GSF missions with very aware beings that get the dimensional mechanics very well, right? I think it's very potent to offer this now, to offer like a launch pad for a lot of you, right, that may get through this, to appreciate this mechanics, right? And I'll show you another image relative to this, why, but that's like the 3D 5 cents, the spiritual no man's land with all the invaders and influences and stuff. But the idea is we get out to the other side, right, beyond that, okay? So I'm just going to show an expanded version of this, right? So what I've done is tried to do a different visual representation of that, where it's like boxes in boxes of boxes, right? And so if you see the spiritual no man's land, it's been an insert, right, to lock us down and influence us and be the gatekeeper to our potential that is bigger than the 22D and all that. But what I'm wanting to do is just show you how much of the reality control is an insert to isolate us from our potential, right? So I hope that helps offer a different representation of the spiritual no man's land. Just see it as an insert, right, that we've accepted because we've got no reference, and all the wipings and hacking us and corruption of the DNA and all that sort of stuff, right? All it is something we don't need to employ, but all the variables of the system and the invaders, they're codependent on us accepting that, let alone doing our energy hygiene and sovereignty from it, right? So I hope this is very powerful. It's quite simple and an interesting overview, all right? And I've offered this image, I forget which videos, our intuitive potential sort of stuff, right? But this is what the journey is like, right? And ideally, we go, like, we've been very brave, you know, all the people around me in the era, and maybe haven't been through the length of time that I have and many of the veterans and stuff, but it's just been as brutal for you as it has been for us. But ideally, you've come into it now, and all this data that I offer is just a fast track to get through it. The unfortunate thing is, if you have no reference of it, you don't know how valuable it is, right? And so you have no value, it's just data, and then you need to go through the experiences, and I try to shortcut all them and arm you up with the data so you can make better decisions, but there is still a logic of going through experiences and stuff, and this reality is pretty brutal, and there's a lot of interesting things that I've got to talk about. The crown chakra and the heart chakra. Influences part 8 that I offered last week was very important, right? So I hope you've delved into that and gotten a lot from it if you have. But this is what it's about, and it's an individual journey. You know, you might go in expansions and you want to be associated with other people, but you realize most people don't embrace energy hygiene, or they have the work ethic in the spiritual development that you have and all that sort of stuff, right? So it's not easy, right? So I'm just going to go back to the awareness journey. So it's dark. It's dark, and I'm going to finish off, but if you appreciate what I said about the 15D, I hope by offering it this way in this multidimensional method to the 3D Madness Pt14 related to reality dimensional mechanics, alright? By me sharing it very potently in this way with the Bruce Cathie, very important clip, right? Relative to the harmonic code documentary that I'm probably I'm violating the creator by showing it, and I don't mean to, but it's just such an important clip relative to the whole documentary that he created, and I'm very grateful for. I hope by me offering all this now, it's very potent for you to realize that you really need to push ahead, alright? It doesn't matter whether you accept the multidimensional or not. The system knows it and has been mastering it for decades, alright? And it's up to us individually to do our best to overcome it and get to that pure source 1000D alignment, right? And what I've offered is there's a set of mechanics relative to our 1000D sort of stuff that's vastly more than this, right? Because from my appreciation, it feels like everything done is being done because they're relying on us accepting all this, right? So what if you don't? What if you engage your sovereignty? What if you do your energy hygiene? And what is your potential, right? You might be a beacon for others to want to explore it themselves. And the way I've got my sovereignty declaration is injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So if you do it, you might clear the path for others to have an easier awareness journey themselves, right? So I hope you get a lot from this. Apologies, I'm in the dark again. I had some lawn mowing action around me on a weird time right when I was about to start the video, so I didn't want it to be too noisy, alright? So I just hope this is a real interesting pit stop. I don't intend this to be too long, and I hope you've gotten a lot from it, and then you go and explore the recent releases that I've done if you haven't seen them, because they're very potent, and this will be a component I'll refer to in relative to the internet the multi-dimensional internet apparatus and all the other influences and stuff, right? So thank you, as always, for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I hope you get a lot from this. And until next time, Andre, the brat from Down Under, out. Take care, guys. Lots of love. See you next time. Bye for now.
The sun is gonna keep on shining, brighter days on the horizon. My love for you will always keep on rising. Everything's gonna be alright tonight. Oh yeah, my love for you is gonna keep on rising. The sun's gonna keep on shining, bright days on the horizon. My love for you will keep on rising. Everything's gonna be alright. The sun's gonna keep on shining, bright days on the horizon. My love for you will keep on rising. Everything's gonna be
swimming in December, heading for the city lights. 975, we sharing each other, nearer than farther. Scent of lemon drips from your eyes. We are the people that rule the world. What's running in every boy and girl? All rejoicing in the world. Take me now. We can drive. We live the adventure.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.